Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Eastern Alliance Era 3 Premium Light Tank, the MLI-84M. Now if you did like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the MLI-84M, what's it like? Well, it's basically a BMP3, as you can see by the hull, but with the gun from the Marder 1A3, so it's kind of a fusion of the two tanks in a way. And that means that it is actually a better version of the BMP3, which isn't really saying much since the BMP3 is pretty poor, right? But I do think it is worse than the Marder 1A3, which you can get for free in the tech tree just by grinding. And that's because the ATGMs on the Marder 1A3 are very, very similar to this vehicle. The autocannon is the same, but the Marder 1A3 goes way quicker than this thing. This thing is a little bit sluggish up to that 76 km/h top speed it's got. And in terms of the price, it is also 12,900 gold. Yeah, 12,900 gold for this vehicle. And I think there's a lot better competition out there for your money in Era 3-4 light tanks. Stuff like the Desert Warrior. While the Desert Warrior's autocannon doesn't fire anywhere near as quickly as this one does, its ATGMs are better. Its Armour kind of ricochets shots every now and then, but don't ever rely on it. But its mobility is also quicker, its camo's better, you know, all that good stuff. I just feel like there is a lot better tanks out there. Like, I prefer the Stridsvorden, for example, the STRF, which is the independent one, as a tank. It just feels a little bit better than this vehicle for me to play. So, yeah, on the whole, I don't particularly think this thing's worth it. But does that mean it's bad? No, not at all. I do think it is a very capable vehicle, and you're going to see that in the replays. It is a pretty capable vehicle, but there is just a lot more out there that you could pick up instead, right? And like I say, if you want to have the experience of what this tank does, you could just pick up the Marder 1A3 from the tech tree for free, and you'll have a better experience generally. So without further ado, let's go have a look at the statistics of the MLI-84M. So as you can see, you've got a 65.9 km/h top speed with a 25 km/h reverse speed, a 400 horsepower engine, which is 23.89 horsepower per ton ratio. Now it does hit the 65 to 66 kilometers an hour top speed, but sometimes it just feels a little bit sluggish, and especially on hills and stuff like that, it feels very slow compared to some of the other light tanks that are in this era. You've got a 10% internal fire chance, which is on the low end of fire chances, which is pretty good. I've not really actually been set on fire that much in this thing, although I have been ammo-racked a couple of times, which can be pain. You've got 3,200 hit points, which is pretty good. It's fairly average, actually, for a lot of the light tanks. They're all in that 3,000 to 3,300 hit point region. You've got 42 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which is okay, but at the end of the day, this actually feels really slow. Just because the tank is so long, it feels like it takes an age for it to actually turn, so you want to try and buff that up as much as possible if you can. Ground resistances, absolutely fantastic, just like most of the other light tanks in Era 3, which, yeah, means that they don't hold that back whatsoever. You've got 297 meters of steel concealment, with 530 meters of view range, which is okay. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. And again, it's Era 3, most of the time you are quite close to things, and you will be able to spot them with this. And you can knock this down even lower with the camo net and the camo skill if you wanted to as well. It's down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. You've got a 60 degree a second turret rotation speed, which is much, much quicker than the tracks, so your turret does out-traverse your tracks quite easily, which means you don't struggle to keep your gun on target while moving and while turning and stuff like that, which is very nice for the MLI-84M. You've got 1.04 accuracy during rotation, with a 2.48 accuracy during movement, which isn't the best, but it's also not the worst, and you can knock that down with the cruise skills or with the gun stabilizer if you feel like the gun's not that good. In general, with the 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, this gun actually feels pretty decent, and even at range, when you're just letting the auto cannon rip, you can have a good time and get some decent damage out if they pen. But generally, this autocannon is pretty nice, and especially even firing on the move. You've got 6 degrees of max elevation, which is quite a lot. That's a lot of elevation. And you've got 11 degrees of gun depression, which again is actually very, very nice for the MLI-84M. It makes you very flexible on a ridgeline. And your ATGMs also have a similar launcher to the Bradley, for example, where it can look down quite far. So that is a very nice thing for the MLI-84M. It means that you're not... That's one thing that's got better than the Marder, for example, where you can get on a ridgeline and not struggle for gun depression, especially with the ATGM launcher, which can be handy. You've got 30-second reload for this clip, which is 4.5k DPM. Like I say, you've got 2.1 second aim time, which you don't really feel that much. It doesn't bloom out that badly, and like I say, it does end up meaning that you get a lot more shots on target. This is definitely a close-range weapon, though, at 25mm gun, same as a lot of the other cannons are, but it does absolutely shred, because it's got tenth of a second intraclip reload speed, which means it just absolutely machine guns, which can be very, very handy, just like the Marder 1A3. You got APFS DS on this standard 25mm autocannon with 220 penetration on that standard APFS DS with 1,385 meters a second shell velocity, sorry, which is pretty quick. And again, doesn't mean it means you don't have to give that much lead, particularly in general, which is okay. You got 30 damage on that, which is the same as the Desert Warrior, same as the Marder 1A3 as well. And that's pretty nice. Like I say, this autocannon is actually pretty good on the MLI-84M. It can be very, very good at just absolutely shredding targets. And with 220 pen, you pen most of the tanks you're going to face if you get them in the side or rear. You've got the autocannon as well, which is a Spike ATGM launcher, which has a 20-second reload for a 2-shot clip, which has a 14-second intra-clip reload. So you have to reload this clip for 20 seconds, which you get down quite low. And then once you've fired the first one, then it'll take another 14 seconds before you can fire the second one. So bear that in mind, it is pretty slow at getting these ATGMs out at time. And you've got 180 meters a second shell velocity on that ATGM, which is, again, fairly slow when it does finally get up to that top speed, which it does pretty quickly these days with the ATGM rework. And you have a 100 meter minimum arming distance on this ATGM. So remember to stay outside of 100 meters to be able to get the ATGMs on target and dealing the max amount of damage, which is 1200 for 700 pen. 700 pen's pretty good. And with 1200 damage, that is very, very nice. The 1200 damage is a little bit better than the Marder 1A3, but your penetration is actually worse. And it's actually slightly less damage than the Desert Warrior, and your penetration is still worse, I believe, as well. We'll compare when we get there. You got 155% silver earn rate as well, which means this tank does make good credits, but really what doesn't in Era 3 at this point. So yeah, that's the MLI-84M. Let's have a quick look at well, it's got absolutely no armor, but let's have a quick look at the module viewer. There's the engines for you. One in the back, one in the front, or, you know, engine blocks to actually where you can damage the engine, set it on fire, all that good stuff. There's the ammo rack. If you want to ammo rack this vehicle, aim for directly underneath the turret. Don't shoot the turret, because generally you don't damage the turret, because it's just a gun module. But aim for the hull underneath that turret, because you will detonate this ammo rack. It happens quite often. I've had it happen quite a few times where this ammo rack goes, dead. And you sit there going, no, why? Why? And yeah, your turret pops off. It does happen. So bear that in mind, that if people do shoot you in the center, your head's going to fly. And that's where your crew members are sat. So, without further ado, what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, I have stuck the crew in the Strixforden, so make it easier to shift over to the MLI. And I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Camouflage Expertise, Deadeye, and Clutch Braking. Clutch Braking to make the track traverse 7.5% better, because like I say, it does feel slow at times to actually get fully turned, so I want to make sure that it is going to turn as quickly as it can. Deadeye, for that autocannon, increase the chance of dealing module damage by 6%. I run that for the memes, because there is going to be a lot of shells entering the enemy vehicle in a very, very short space of time. So if I'm using the autocannon, this is what I want to use to make sure that I'm getting likelihoods of maybe damaging ammo racks, setting people on fire, all that good stuff. Again, it's memey, but you don't have to take it. If you want to make the turret traverse better, which I don't know why you would, because it's already rapid, you could run Rapid Aim. You could run the Muffled Shot to reduce the effect of firing on your camo when you fire the ATGMs, so you can stay unspotted for longer and make it easier to guide the ATGMs without being under duress. You could run Situational Awareness to have better view range as a light tank, which could be very, very handy, naturally, because then you can get some good spotting. You could run the Mark Target to increase the duration of the tank that you've spotted by 3 seconds. You know, there's plenty... Or you could run Supply Conservation, which is also valid for your getting your smoke consumable back way quicker. It's down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. Camouflage Expertise, again, to knock the camo down a little bit so that I can stay unspotted from a bit further away, so I can fire the ATGMs without, again, being under duress and taking hits. All 3 gun perks, because I won't run the gun stabilizer, so I want to make sure that this gun is going to be as good as humanly possible so that I can spray people and increase how much damage I'm going to get out of it. And then in terms of equipment, I do run the smoke consumable, because it's very, very handy for a light tank like this and most of the light tanks in Era 3, because you can pop smoke and try and get away from some of the MBTs. Also, if you see any ATGMs flying into you, you can also just pop smoke and it'll make it fly off into the distance usually. I run the advanced loader to make the reload of the autocannon and the ATGMs generally better, and then I run the powertrain and the traction system to get some speed, because this tank is a bit slower and sluggish compared to a lot of the other light tanks, and it's a little bit frustrating. And a lot of the MBTs, if you don't run traction system and powertrain, completely outrun you, which is very annoying and means that if an MBT does come after you, there's not much you can do about it. And naturally, again, using the 100 millimeters of minimum arming distance, if something does get close to you, you're a bit harder to defend yourself because you don't have that 1200 hit of damage that you could dish out, but you do have a very, very effective autocannon, though, to be fair. So let's have a look at the statistics of the MLI-84M with that equipped out. And now you can see we've got 76 km/h top speed, which is a lot quicker, but it's still, again, it's slower than quite a few of the light tanks in the era. Faster than the Stritforden, though, but then when I played the Stritforden, we didn't kit it out for speed. We've got 29.8 km/h top reverse speed, which, again, is quicker, but it's still a little bit slower at reversing compared to a few of the other light tanks. 420 horsepower engine now, which is a 25 horsepower per ton ratio, which again means you do hit 76 km/h top speed. You got 50 degree a second hull rotation speed now, which is even quicker than it was before. You've got 552 meters of view range, 239 meters of steel concealment, which is a lot better than it was again. You've now got 62.58 degree a second turret rotation, which is only, we've not really helped it out that much, but it has got better by that 2 and a bit degrees. 0.72 accuracy during rotation and 2.18 accuracy during movement. Again, if these annoy you with the autocannon, you could just drop the powertrain and run the gun stabilizer, and this gun will get a hell of a lot better. But I just feel like I want to make the mobility of this vehicle better than make this gun better, because I feel like it performs well enough without making the accuracy during rotation and movement better, making the aim circle smaller. You got 0.25 accuracy during 100 meters, which is pretty damn accurate for this kind of gun. 23.04 second reload, which is that 5.5k DPM now. And obviously if you boost with food, it gets even lower, which is pretty good for the size of the clip that you've got. You also now have a 15.3 second reload on the ATGMs, which is a hell of a lot quicker. And again, if you boost with food, it knocks it down to like 13 or 14 seconds, which is very, very quick. And that means the ATGM clip reloads very, very fast, which is nice. I mean, it reloads nearly as quick as the actual intra-clip reloads. So, yeah, it is a little bit slower to get these ATGMs out sometimes, and it does feel it sometimes. But when you do start these ATGMs flowing, it does rack up damage pretty damn quickly for the MLI-84M. So yeah, the MLI-84M, like I say, it's not a bad tank. It's fully capable of defending itself and dishing out some good damage, like you're going to see in some of the replays. I just feel like there is a lot better out there for your money. And like I say, if you want to experience this kind of gameplay, because you look at it and go, oh, that looks good, you could just go grind the Marder 1A3 from the tech tree for free. And by that, then you play the Marder 1A1 and the Bagel Panzer in Era 2, which are also two fantastic vehicles. So yeah, let's have a quick look at the Desert Warrior, though, because that's what I'm saying is a little bit better. As you can see, the 22-second reload on that clip is about the same as the MLI, but it does fire a lot slower. As you can see, a 0.3 of a second intra-clip reload is a lot slower than the 0.1 of a second. Although the ATGMs, as you can see down here, you've got that same... Well, the minimum arming distance on the Desert Warrior is 65 meters as well, which is a lot better than the MLI, by the way. And you've got 329 meters a second shell velocity on those ATGMs, which is a lot quicker than the MLI. You've got 1300 damage on the ATGMs, which is better than the MLI. You've got 800 penetration, on those ATGMs, which is better than the MLI, and you've got 1000 if you want to load the full premium as well, which can be handy. 12-second intra-clip reload is faster, but your actual reload of the ATGMs is slower than the MLI. But you have a 165% silver bonus as well on this vehicle, which does make a lot more silver than the MLI does. That's why I'm saying the Desert Warrior is generally a better pickup than the MLI-84M. And you've got stuff like the Stormer as well, which can be fun. And then you've got the Marder 1A3, which is, again, we've built pretty much the same as the MLI-84M, but you can get for free in the tech tree. It's only got slightly worse penetration. It has slightly worse damage as well, 25 as opposed to 30. But you go at 82 kilometers an hour, so you go much quicker. You've got a similar power to weight, but you've got a better horsepower engine, so you do get there much faster as well. You've got better view range, similar detectability, so similar camo. your reload is 14.9 seconds on this autocannon, with better accuracy during movement and rotation, which means the gun is extremely well stabilised, better aim time on it as well, which means this autocannon is just generally far, far better. Worse ammo speed, though, at 1,150, so yeah, there is that. And then the actual ATGMs is just a flat 10.67 second reload, with 220 meters a second shell velocity, although it does have the same minimum arming distance of 100. 950 pen for 1,120 damage, so you got way better penetration, but slightly worse damage. But you do reload these ATGMs, and it means you'll get the ATGMs out on this vehicle much, much faster than you will on the MLI, which is why I say you can just get the same similar playstyle from the MLI out of the Marder 183, which you can get for free in the tech tree. And that's why I don't particularly think this is all that worth the pickup. But it's down to you and personal preference. If you've not played any of the other vehicles and you kind of want to play this kind of thing, you could pick it up. It's down to you and how you want to play it. It's personal preference, as always. So yeah, what we're going to do now is go take the MLI-84M out, show you the replays of the vehicle in action, see how it handles, and you'll get to watch this thing in action and see if it might be for you. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the first battle in the 84M, and we are on Corellia. Now on Corellia, I didn't really want to go to the position at GH7 because I would be a little bit too close to people, to be honest. If we went that way, we'd end up getting very close up to people. Our 100 meter of minimum arming distance would mean that we couldn't actually get the ATGMs out we possibly wanted to, and we'd end up taking quite a few hits, no doubt, as well. And also, quite a few of my team have charged down the A line. So, as it is in Era 3, if the team goes that way, try and back them up and go the same way. Because if you go to the other flank by yourself, no doubt you will find an enemy tank, or the whole enemy team, and get absolutely trashed. So, I've seen the team 292. I know there's a heavy tank coming. I fired the ATGM, but sadly, the ATGM was fired a little bit too soon to get that shot on target to the Leclerc T4. I was trying to preempt him coming round the rock, and he got there a little bit slower than I expected, so I actually ended up missing that first ATGM. We see the Weasel Toe running around. It's like, hello, Mr. Weasel Toe. Well, we try and ATGM him on the move, which was never going to work because naturally with the minimum arming distance, but he also did the same, and you heard the doink as it hit us and did nothing from his ATGM. I popped smoke, so it's a little bit more difficult for anyone behind me to shoot me, which was really, to be quite honest, very poorly aimed because they can still see me anyway. We see the Leopard 2A4 behind us, and I thought someone had started looking at us from behind where the 2A4 is, but actually we're starting to get done in by a BMP3 who did hit us with an ATGM. Luckily, it didn't hit us near the turret ring, because if it hit us near the turret ring, our head would have popped. But, fortunately enough, like I say, it didn't. We're just looking for another target to shoot with these ATGMs. There's the Leclerc in the open. It's like, hello, Mr. Leclerc, just let me get your lower plate. But we led that a little bit poorly, and because we didn't aim properly for the lower plate there, we ended up just letting him move backwards and kept our aim pointer, reticle, laser pointer, painted target thing. We kept that in the same spot, and it ended up being on his tracks in the end, which meant that we only tracked him. But we are waiting on the reload for the next one. I'm thinking, do I go after the Leclerc, or do I go and see if I can shoot the cap? And in fact, I can shoot the cap. I can see the cap from here, but that's what it is with Corellia, you know? We try and put the shot at this thumper, but I can't see the thumper anymore. There's too much foliage in the way, so I can't actually see him physically either. And because we got unspotted, we didn't manage to get the shot in. But now, we've moved to a better position where we can freely see the cap, and we're getting the ATGMs out. I was going for the upper plate there of the thumper. Sadly, it didn't hit it, or it didn't pen it anyway, and we only did 342 damage. I say it didn't pen. ATGMs do pen. There's no splash mechanics with ATGMs. It's just that they have some sort of damage mechanic beyond how much armor they actually penetrate. So we hit the spaced armor, and we must have penned some of the spaced armor, but not all of it, which is why we only did about 300 to 400 damage. So we've seen something firing from the middle hill on Corellia, and I've just seen it moving. So we fire a shot towards it with the ATGM, but sadly we don't get it anywhere near because, well, we just completely lost sight of him. I saw what it was. I think it was a T4 moving, and it was like, I caught a glimpse of you, I've got you. And sadly, well, we ended up missing. But we did find a BMP3. Hello, Mr. BMP3. And this is where this tank can be really good, and especially way better than a BMP3, right? Because we've ATGM'd him, we've got the auto cannon going, a nice little maneuver with the driving. You know, sometimes my driving can be good, you know. You at the back, stop saying my driving's terrible. Yeah, sometimes my driving can be good, and we managed to pull a little maneuver and just keep the gun absolutely at him. And we managed to get most of the health of the BMP3 before he got shut down by the Thumper. We've got one ATGM left. There is one tank left. It is the Leclerc T4. I fire it at the back of his turret, and thankfully, it hits, and we do the 280 odd damage and finish him off. And we finished the game with a very, very average game there for the MLI-84M. We finished with the game with a 6.2k damage, 1600 assistance, 200k silver, the Confederate, the Defender medal, with the 1218 base XP. Again, a fairly average game there for the MLI-84M on Corellia, showing you the general experience of this vehicle. And now we're on to the second replay. And the second replay, we are here on this map, which is Deathfall. It's right in front of my face. How can I not read a screen? Fool. So, we're on Deathfall. And on Deathfall, what I want to do is go to the middle of the map. If I take the central village that's on the hill, I should be able to then get shots at people that go up the BC line. Anyone that does camp at D9 or they camp at G9, I should be able to get 3 shots with my ATGMs at them. The problem is with this now, especially for the light tanks like the MLI-84M or even a Marder 183, I mean, it's a little bit less of a problem for something like the Desert Warrior because that's got a 65 meter minimum arming distance, but especially if you've got a 100 meter minimum arming distance, the middle hill here on Deathfall can be a bit tricky because naturally they can close the distance very, very quickly, which makes it very, very awkward to be able to use the ATGMs. You can just see me looking over the buildings there, trying to use the true vision to see if anyone was actually climbing, and I couldn't see anyone. Just trying to find a target now. Again, checking the usual suspect spots to see if anyone is camping. And there we find the Weasel Toe. So we're actually 99. If we'd waited that split second, we'd have been able to shoot that guy because we were 99 meters away. He started moving and we'd have been able to get the ATGM. As you can see, you can tell how far you are away from people because when you're looking down the sight, there's a little number under your reticle which tells you how many meters away you are from the target, which is something you always want to try and be looking at when you're in a ATGM firing vehicle so that you can know that you're within your arming distance. Plus, obviously, if you fire, naturally, it'll have a big X on your screen to say you can't use it. So you can see that that T-72 was actually 589 meters away, and that's how you tell the distance. And you can basically, if you know you can surprise someone and get up behind them and they don't realise you're there, and then you realise, oh, I'm 80 metres away, you can reverse and you can watch that number that you can see there, which is 120 for that Leopard 2A5, sorry. You can watch that number, get up to the number you need to be, and then get your ATGMs out. It's not a guesswork, it does tell you. So we pop smoke. We've seen the K1 and the 2A5 charging up onto the hill. And again, because of the minimum arming distance, I don't want to be close to these guys because I will die. The K1, though, couldn't find us. I fire an ATGM at him, and sadly, it was a fairly poor ATGM. It was never going to hit. But the 2A5 is facing off against 2 of my MBTs. I've still got a clip, and a 2A5 is very, very flat on the rear and the side. So with 220 pen, we can go through it. So we just YOLO in. Hello, Mr. Leopard 2A5. Aiming for the back end, because you never know. You might be able to set it on fire. And then I think, you know what, I can put him down to a one-shot if I fire an ATGM at him. You saw we did 300 damage from point blank with the ATGM. And the whole reason of firing that was just to put him down to a one-shot for my friends so that they could finish him off and we could win this hill battle. So we've got one ATGM left in the clip. We fire it at the 292. Oh, and sadly, it doesn't pen. So the 292 survives on 55 HP, but I know I could pen a 292 with 220 pen, and we actually do manage to pen him. The Leclerc T4, again, we can pen in the side and the rear with 220 pen, so we're keeping the autocannon firing. We fire the ATGM into his rear and finish him off with the autocannon. Again, it's that 1-2 tap that this thing can do. And naturally, you can also do the thing that every other light tank can do, or every other tank with multi-weapon system, is once we've fired that ATGM, which was kind of pointless there at the STRF, but we'll take the kill. Once you fire the ATGM, you can switch back to the main cannon, and you can start firing the main cannon while also guiding the ATGM, which can be handy for keeping damage racking, and especially when you know you're not going to kill the target with that ATGM, it makes it so that you never know, you might possibly get the kill, right? So there's 4 tanks left on the enemy team. You can see I am just trying to see, because I thought I saw something on that distant ridge line on the B line, but I was just keeping my eye out to see if I could see it with true vision. I can't. I know the T-70 or the T-80 BV is still up here. Oh, in fact, it's a T-72 BU. He's still up there on their little campy hill, so I wanted to go close the distance and see if I could get an ATGM at him. But once again, I'm closing the distance while also keeping my distance so that I can launch these ATGMs and he is not within my minimum arming distance. Because that's the way you've got to play. If you're going to go after someone with ATGMs and stuff like that, you've got to be able to close the distance so you can get the shot in, but at the same time, make sure that they are still without... well, they are outside of your minimum arming distance. So we got the ATGM into the BU, and then we absolutely laser him with the autocannon, setting him on fire, and we finish him off with that autocannon. We finish the epic victory, 4 kills, 6,785 damage, 38 assistance, 184,000 silver, again, second class with the Fire and Forget medal for that 1,274 base XP. Again, another fairly average game there for the MLI-84M on Desfall. And again, it shows you a bit of the awkwardness with the minimum arming distance, how to get around it, that sort of thing. You've always got to be thinking, oh, these guys are closing in on me. I don't want to be anywhere near them. Get out of dodge, get away from them. Because otherwise they will absolutely murder you. But you do have the threat of the fact that your autocannon is actually so deadly in that if you get round the side or rear of stuff like 2A5s, 2A4s, well, any of the Leopard 2s really, the Abrams tanks, any of those versions, you are going to pen them reliably in the side and rear with this autocannon, and you absolutely just shred them so fast. Things like McCarvers, that's where it starts to get a bit awkward because the 220 pen starts to struggle against those things, but yeah, most tanks you will still shred them. So we're on the third replay. In the third replay, we're on Westfield, and it's like, hello, Mr. MLI-84M. Hello, brother. I want to get rid of that guy because he's taken the K-line, and I want to be fighting on that K-line and in and around this position too. So we fire the ATGM at the upper plate of the MLI, and thankfully it flies in. We pop smoke so that he can't start wrecking us with the autocannon. And in fact, quite luckily as well, because his ATGM flew and ended up missing us. I'm just trying to assess what I want to do right now. There's a TD that was coming after us, so I thought, you know, I'm going to drop into the smoke. But no, I really want to get rid of this guy. But he actually is moving out of the safety of where he was, but that's because there is an MBT pushing down the K-line. And the MLI-84M ends up getting shut down. It's 1,222 damage so far, and now I'm making sure that everything is reloaded so that I'm ready to go. Most of my team is on this mid-ridge, and then we've got a few team on the zero line. A lot of their team, most of their team in general, are up on the northern end of the map. There's tanks down at H45, so if I get some elevation, I will be able to shoot at these guys. So I fire my ATGM at the 2A5, get the shot straight through his lower plate, and then we start getting farmed by tanks that are down at A3, A4. And that's because this is a very obvious position. So if people do go to where they are at A3, A4, they can quite easily find you and shut you down. So I don't want to stay there because that is dangerous. But we get the ATGM on the move into the Magak, I think it was, that we actually hit there. And I want to get to the other ridge so that, again, I can keep the ATGMs firing at these guys on the opposite side. There was no point joining my heavy tanker TD on the ridge at FG5. I want to get the elevation. I want to get the distance so it's easier to become that ATGM assassin and keep these rounds flying for that big damage burst of 1,200, which is what we want to do. So we fire an ATGM at the lower plate of the 4778. I don't know why I did that. I was just like, I wonder if this can go through. Obviously, 700 pen was not going to go through the lower plate of a Malo because that thing's frontal armor is stupid, and the ATGM was just never going to pen it. We fire the ATGM, the next one, I should say, at the T-72B, but sadly, the B actually drives back and gets safe, which is just sod's law. The Type 85-3M, is that Type 85-3M? Yeah, it's driving into the melee, and I'm thinking, right, I want to get this ATGM into this guy. Hello, Mr. Type 85-3, sorry. And the ATGM flies through, sets him on fire, and finishes him off. Beautiful ATGM at that distance as well, helping out our TD while we're at it. The M1A1 is also pushing out, same as their Magak 7C. We can see these guys, he's 890 meters away. You can see it does take an age for the ATGM to get there, but it ends up doing a lot of damage, and this is even the autocannon at distance. We managed to finish off the Magak 7C there, even at distance with this autocannon. You can see it's still fairly accurate at distance. The dangerous thing to do with the autocannon, though, is to fire at this distance, because naturally you are concealed. It's a lot harder for them to see you at the distance, and it means you can keep pumping out the ATGMs. But if you start firing the autocannon at 900 meters, it's very, very easy to see you and very easy for them to use true vision to find you, zero in on you, and try and get rid of you. And also, anyone that you might have not been looking at that you didn't know was there, like, say, another light tank firing an ATGM, for example, might be able to see you and just go, oh, I'll just fire this ATGM and slam him with it, and then, you know, death follows swiftly. So you got to be very, very careful while doing that. We've managed to get up close and personal now. We've managed to get a shot into the back of the BV, putting us up to 9.3k damage. That's because there's only 4 tanks left in the enemy team. There was no point staying back at K6. The moment there was only 4 or 5 tanks and they were all up here on this little area, we had to get going, get zooming off, and try and get to the damage. This is where the MLI-84M can struggle because, like I said, you're seeing it, we are just a little bit slow and sluggish for a light tank in this era. We're tending to stick about 70 kilometers an hour, even though we've got all the speed equipment and stuff like that, when we're on little inclines, which it can be a bit of a painful experience in that regard for the MLI-84M because it's just that little bit slower. We did manage to finish off the Leclerc T4, though, with the autocannon, with shots into the top of his turret, and we're on to 3 kills with 9.4k damage, 1,767 assistance. That's a house. No, what did you say about my driving? No, my driving is great. Ah, oh, that person at the back of the room, that heckler, what am I... Oh, terrible. We finished with the epic victory anyway. 3 kills, 9,453 damage, 1,767 assistance. The second class, the Fire and Forget medal again, with that 1,355 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the MLI-84M on Westfield. Again, showing just what you want to be doing with this vehicle. Trying to keep your distance, get the ATGMs flowing, because the main power pack of this tank is the ATGMs. But then you've got that auto cannon for sweet, sweet damage when you need it. And now we're on to the 4th and final replay of this video, and we are on this map, which is Chow Bang, and this is the best game I've had in this vehicle so far. And what we're going to do is go to the position at G3, G4, so that we can see if we can get some early ATGMs off at people crossing the JK line. Now, because we only go at 76 kilometers an hour, and tanks do go very, very fast in Era 3, we are actually going to probably get passed by quite a few of those vehicles because they will just get there way quicker than we will get to the position we want to get the free shots at. So we come up on top of the ridgeline, we're looking to see if we can find the tank, and something instantly shoots us, and it's like, where is it? I want to see it, and I'm just looking for it. There it is. I saw it there, and I'm like, hello, where are you? Where are you? There you are, Mr. Tank that I can't see, but I can just about see. It's a thumper in the distance, 1223. We just about saw his turret hiding or poking out between the bushes, and we got 1,223 damage in that first shot. But now we shot the thumper, there's a likelihood he's not actually going to looking at us, and it's like, hello, Mr. Leopard 2. I can see you. We put the ATGM into his back end, and this is where the autocannon is a beautiful, beautiful thing, because in the blink of an eye, all the hit points of the Leopard 2 are gone. And we are up to 3.7k damage in less than a minute and a half, just like that. And that's the strength of this autocannon and ATGM combo that you can get out of these light tanks, because naturally you can do that again in a Marder 1A3 or the Desert Warrior, stuff like that. It does exactly the same. But this is where the MLI-84M is quite handy compared to some of those vehicles, because naturally your gun depression is great. 11 degrees gun depression on this autocannon is delightful, and then the ATGM barrel drops down quite low as well, meaning that you get good gun depression on that, meaning a position like this on this ridgeline is very, very handy for you to limit the amount of tank that people can shoot, and you can just keep pummeling out the rounds with the autocannon and the ATGMs. So I'm trying to find more targets to shoot with the ATGM. So we fire one at the 2A4. It's a bit risky staying up on top of this ridgeline. We end up taking a hit. Move just in time to get avoided by an ATGM. But our ATGM a minute ago did fly into the Leopard 2's side. And we get out of dodge. I reload the main cannon and the ATGMs so that I'm ready to go. I see the object 640. The Black Eagle on his Todd against a T-72 BU. And it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go help my teammate out. Hello, Mr. BU. We launched the ATGM for the middle of the tank, and kaboom! Off with his head. We knew, again, when you're firing these ATGMs, I knew that the ammo rack of this T-72 BU is somewhere around where the turret is. So I aimed for the hull under the turret, and it flew true and detonated this ammo rack for 3,000 damage. Now going for the 292, which again, I know I can pen with 220 pen if I hit it in the right spot. I'm just trying my best to help this Black Eagle out as much as possible. We've now managed to reload the autocannon after failing several times. We fire the ATGM at the other MLI-84M, put that shot in, putting us onto 11,509 damage so far. waiting on the next ATGM to help this 640 out, because we've done our best to keep this guy alive. There, 84M pops smoke, meaning he's managed to get away. We get spotted as we put around the corner and start getting looked at, and I think, no, I don't want to take an ATGM, and there we go. The ATGM from whatever was back there ends up missing us. We realise the 292's come up behind us. It's like, okay, let's get an ATGM out of this guy if we can, help our team, because they're starting to get flanked. We fire the ATGM, and sadly, it hits the dead building, or, sorry, not the dead building. It is a dead, it's always dead, it was never alive. But it sadly ended up missing. We pop smoke to try and avoid the shot from the Black Eagle, but the Black Eagle ends up hitting us. But our ATGMs are ready to go. Because we pop smoke, that guy stopped looking at us. So we put the ATGM into the lower plate of the Black Eagle, and we get out of his shot range, because I don't want to take any shots from him, and he was focusing on the Thumper. There's still 3 enemy MBTs behind us, so I want to get rid of these guys. I've got 1 ATGM left, so we come up for the shot into the back of the K1, and we finish that guy off. Waiting now on the reload of the ATGMs. We've got the main autocannon, but I don't really want to go in without the ATGMs because that's my stopping power. But both the 292 and the T80U get shut down by the M1 and the Thumper, meaning there's only 4 tanks left. 3 light tanks and a TD. We know where 3 of the light tanks are because they were all spotted up at JK34. So again, we're going to come around the corner, try and help the Black Eagle yet again, see if we can get a sneaky shot off. We want to be careful though, because naturally we could die to the ATGM, so we're just going to use True Vision to see if we can find him. There you are, Mr. MLI-84M, and unfortunately it doesn't pen. We dodge his ATGM though, and we're just going to auto cannon him. Don't get a little bit more damage in. We've got the ATGM still loading, but we could probably just kill him with the autocannon, and sadly we don't get any more damage on that guy. That one didn't pen is so sad, but hey, well. We finished with the victory. The 3 kills, 13,904 damage, 1,929 assistance. The first class, the Eagle Eye, the High Caliber, the Confederate, 1,579 base XP. A really nice game there for the MLI-84M, which, like I say, it's not a bad tank. It's fully capable of defending itself. I just think there is a lot better out there for the money. And also, you can just go grind a tank that probably does what this one does, but better for free from the tech tree. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!